G'day guys and welcome back to Casual Rage. Prepare to start the show, R2. This is where the fun begins. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Casual Rage 174, where we casually rage out about the topics of the week. I'm sorry I'm late. I pushed the stream back originally when I set the stream up intentionally because I knew I was doing side scrollers this morning. And that was from 2 a.m. to about 4 a.m. And then, of course, that was a really awesome stream. I actually had a lot of fun. If you didn't watch, go and check that out. That's why I look so tired. I literally woke up 20 minutes before I had the stream scheduled. And I was like, shit, I'm out of time. So I needed that extra half an hour. And I still feel like I'm not awake properly. All right. We got a little bit to get through today. Not a lot. We're certainly not going to have another 4-hour stream today. I'm too exhausted for that. We're going to talk about the Acolyte. Of course, we are just around the corner. And as we said last week, they are ramping everything up for the Acolyte, try and build hype around the Acolyte, and they're doing whatever the hell they can to do that. So we're going to have a look, of course, at the Acolyte. We're going to talk a little bit about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. And then the rest of it is pretty much, I think, the George Lucas stuff. I know that there's been some remarks made by Kathleen Kennedy, and that's probably the bigger news, and I don't have that. So this is how unorganized I am this week. We'll get to that. I'll find something. Anyway, that's the situation. So I hope you're all doing really well. Let's see who we've got here in the chat. We've got Mudcrab, yes, I know. We've got Tellium is 29 is in the chat. We've got Darth Ghostface. How you doing there, guys? We've got Lara A. Now, Lara, she's awesome. She's always watching videos, always commenting. Man, she's got some big comments in there, especially when it comes to the streams, because obviously there's so many topics, and she wants to touch on as many of them as she can that she's got opinions on. But it is awesome to see her here on a live stream, and she's saying that she will catch the stream later. So thank you. I came across this short of on what Dave Filoni said to Lesley Headland, or Flintstone Head, at the Acolyte premiere. Speaks volumes. We're going to take a look at that. I haven't watched it, to be honest with you. I have not watched it, but I've seen it. I know what you're talking about because it's just Lesley Headland and Dave Filoni sitting opposite each other in chairs. So it's that one, I'm guessing. We'll have a look at that for sure. We've also got Fractured Filter, who always comes back and rewatches the streams too. says, have a great and awesome stream. I'm sure you can't wait for the Filoni supported Acolyte. Yeah, no, I can't wait. I can't wait. I actually can't wait to sit down and review it. Like, I know that it's going to be a dumpster fire. I already know that, there's going to be things in there that are really going to frustrate the hell out of me. You might get some rage moments. You never really know. But at the end of the day, my expectations haven't been subverted into thinking that. That's my expectation. So that's going to be interesting. Chat, smash the like. Sub to Rhino. It's worth it. Thank you. Hashtag watch Stargate SG1. Catch you on the replay. Dude. Yeah, and if anybody else is here watching the replay, please do smash that like button, and I hope you enjoy the show. We got Star Wars Marvel Purist in the chat. Great popping on celebration day 4. Yeah, look, I messaged Darth Melvin a couple of days before the weekend that he was doing the Star Wars celebration stuff, and I'm like, what's the plan? Like, I'd like to do a panel or something. And just with the time slots that he had available and the stuff that he was doing, I'm pretty much working those whole time, or in every single time that he gave me. So I saw everybody else jumping on there, and they were really, really good. And I just wanted to jump on and at least say hello, give my presence to what was actually happening there, because I thought it was really awesome. We've got, who else we got here? Tyron Azilla's in the chat. We've got Papa Palpatine's Pizza Padawan is here. Hello there. Kelly Chow's in the chat. Let's see. Mr. Bantham. Fucking hello. Yes, 31 minutes. Yep. That was my bad. So that was all before I changed the time. Mike Hill's in the chat. He's going to catch the replay as well. I thought starting later like this, because obviously Jack Show's now already started, and a little, I thought we're going to have a little bit of a smaller chat because of the delay. Lethal's in the chat. Oh, yeah, okay. The day Rhino admits the prequels suck. We've got Ryan Gosling's in the chat. Good to see you. Just scrolling through a little bit here, guys, and then we'll get straight into it. Dr. Coffin Nails, always a pleasure. OG Star Wars, Alora, how you doing? Nuisance Bird, good to see everybody. Soul Assassin, I see you as well. All right, let's do this, shall we? Let's do this. So we're going to start with the Acolyte. Like I said, the Acolyte is literally around the corner. We've got, 4 days? For me, it's 4 days. Probably for you guys, it's 5 days. Well, then it's probably actually 5 days for me, because it'd be the 4th for you, wouldn't it? Yeah, so it's 5 days for me. That doesn't work out the way that I said it before. So, yeah, we are so close now to this sizzle reel being released. Aren't you happy? We're getting the sizzle reel. And like I said, like we said last week as well, they are really ramping up the promotion, or anything that they can do, anything that they can get to try and really push this. Blow this up a little bit here. To try and build some hype around this, basically. And I know that if I asked you guys in the chat right now, who's, excited to watch this, no one's really going to say that they're excited to watch this. We might get a shill in there, a Disney seal in there that might go, yeah, I am. What's your problem? But yeah, majority of you aren't even going to probably watch it. There's been a lot. As the fans, we keep doing what we're doing. We're going to either watch it, we're not going to watch it. So, you've got people like me that are still sitting there watching it, but even though we're hating what we're seeing, and then you've got the people that have just pretty much walked away from it. Now, the funny thing is that in that, Disney has now culminated. They actually have culminated a new fan base. We've talked about it. It's a lot of the pronoun people on Twitter, the shippers. A lot of those people have now become the quote-unquote Star Wars fan. So now when I look at it in regards to the attacks, you could say, that these people at Lucasfilm are throwing out there, who are you throwing shade at now? Is it the ones that have walked away? Because they're not even really engaged. They're not even really watching it. And if they are watching it, they're really sort of keeping to themselves. They're not really, speaking up too much. My point is that there's not many like myself or Melvin or Purist or, any of those, Tim, Alora, the list goes on, right? There's not too many of us that actually, not that I've seen anyway, that are actually speaking about this the way that we do. There's a lot of fence riders out there that say, oh yeah, this is shit, but. And I see a lot of that. That's why I'm saying there's not too many that sit there and go, no, there's reasons why that this is wrong. But just going back to the attacks on the fans, right? And we've got a quote here from Lesley Headland. We've also got that the recent statements from Kathleen Kennedy. But again, it's who is she talking to? Or who are they talking to, really? Now, it's kind of like the same thing with the people out there that do sit there and say that they're enjoying all of Star Wars. And yet then when we get something announced like, Dave Filoni is the chief creative officer, or George Lucas is coming back to Star Wars, and those statements are put in place to say that Star Wars will be saved, and they jump on that line, what's it being saved from? When you're, getting ultimate enjoyment. I know you guys have heard this, a lot of you anyway, have heard this a million times. And we'll continue to parrot those same lines because it's the truth. It actually is the truth. So let's just read this from Variety here. The Acolyte creator Lesley Headland, quote, I know how frustrating some Star Wars storytelling in the past has been. Like, okay, let's break this down. Let's just break it down for a sec. Do you really know how frustrating it's been? Because, yeah, there has been frustrations. If you think about it before George Lucas sold Star Wars, yeah, there were some frustrating things in there for a lot of people. I'd say it was a minority of people, though, within the fan base still. But they were there. But I don't think anybody really had a problem with the quote-unquote storytelling of George Lucas's Star Wars. They might have had a problem with a character here or there, and they might have actually had a problem with a little bit of the dialogue. But when it came to this story and the overall storytelling, I think we can all agree that the prequels and sewing into the OT actually mesh and come together quite well. The storytelling is actually pretty good. It's probably one of the best things about it. So to say that Star Wars fans have been frustrated about the storytelling in the past, yeah, okay, we can say that in regards to Disney Star Wars. The storytelling, but it's not even just the storytelling, it's the law breaking, the canon destruction, the continuity discrepancies that are actually the problem. It's all of it. You've got people there that just don't care about the lore. They don't care about Star Wars. They certainly don't care about what George Lucas created and what a lot of the elements of what George Lucas created means. I stand by my empathy for fans. Really? I just don't believe her. I don't. She comes across as a chronic liar. Like everything that comes out of her mouth is a lie made to sound really good. And that's why when she gets questioned on a specific thing about Star Wars, she can't answer it. Like, what is your favorite movie? That's the infamous one. But there have been other things that she's said which just are like, well, you really don't know your shit. But I want to be clear. Everyone who engages in bigotry, racism, or hate speech, I don't consider a fan. So now this is where that's taking a shot at me, right? By default. Now, I'm not sitting here admitting that I'm a bigot. I'm not sitting here admitting that I'm racist, and I'm not sitting here admitting that I condone even or participate in hate speech. What I participate in is criticism of the Star Wars universe. The storytelling, yes, very important. Character development and character motivations, another one, very important. But then it goes deeper than that when it comes to something like Star Wars. You do have the lore, you do have the canon, and you do have the continuity to take into consideration. Things have been built around these worlds, right? That you can't ignore. You just can't. And it's kind of like I said, I'm expecting this to be an absolute disaster when it comes to especially those three elements, the lore, the canon, and the continuity. Because we haven't just seen it through the sequel trilogy. We've seen it through The Mandalorian. We've seen it through the Book of Boba Fett. We've seen it through Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's one of the bigger ones where it contradicts stuff that is established, that we already know. Like this is, to me, this is them getting on the front foot. We've seen it before. It's the same playbook. They've got no other plays. They know the disaster's coming. You don't think they see the ratios that we see on these trailers? Of course they do. Of course they do. And we're supposed to just sit back and take it because we don't care about the Star Wars that they're creating now? No fucking chance. No way. I'm not sitting back and laying back and letting these people, they infiltrated it. It's done. It's gone. Star Wars is a distant memory. Do you think I'm just going to lay back and let them have their essentially victory of turning this franchise into this cucked bastardization of what it once was? No chance. And if a person is actually out there and criticizing, let's say, a character, and let's just say that that character happens to be a female character, and let's just so happen to say that that character is not just a female, but it's a black female character, and somebody's out there criticizing something about that character, how about you listen to the details of the criticism before you just jump on the bandwagon of you racist piece of shit? This is preempting the dumpster fire that's coming and preparing for, it's the same thing as Reva. Exactly the same thing as Reva. Trigger Jim's got it. Reva. They got on the front foot with that. Ewan McGregor sitting in his car going, if you're racist, you're never no Star Wars fan in my eyes. Fuck off with this narrative. You're making it up. What you're saying is happening doesn't exist. And if it does exist, it's on such a minute, minuscule level that it isn't even worth talking about. And the other thing too is if you are one of those people that does engage in like sending racist or bigoted comments to, let's say, actors or directors or whatever the case may be, stop it, because you're making what I do harder for the people to actually listen to it, because then they immediately jump on, they slot me into the same basket as you guys. Do what you want, but come on, like, can we actually talk about the content? Can we actually talk about what the actual issues are? You know, I foresee many issues coming in this series with the possibility of Plagueis and Tenebris. You've got the whole Sith even just revealing themselves in general to Jedi, and Jedi actually fighting them. And then the results have to be that the Jedi need to be killed, but they need to be killed in a way that doesn't leave lightsaber wounds and stuff like that behind. It's smarter than you think it needs to be, if that makes sense. And the problem is when you've got, and we saw it with Grand Admiral Thrawn, when you've got an absolute inept piece of shit that doesn't even understand Star Wars like Dave Filoni, that tries to bring in a character like Thrawn, and the creator, Dave Filoni in this instance, is stupid, dumb, and doesn't get it, well, then his character can only be as smart as he is. You know, I think about it and I go, what would be the biggest issue in regards to getting somebody like, let's say, a James Luceno or, you know, Timothy Zahn, even though he did essentially cuck himself by redoing the Thrawn trilogy and selling out. But, you know, these guys that do actually at least understand Star Wars, and get them in a writing room by themselves. Let them write an actual script. See if they can make your jumbled mess of a canon make sense. But, you know, again, I don't have it up, and I'm sorry that I don't have a thing for it. Kathleen Kennedy recently came out and sort of said the same thing, going after the fans again. Again, to me, that is just them preempting what kind of an issue they're going to have with this Acolyte series. And with Star Wars this year, in general, it hasn't been received all that well. The entire beginning of the year started with the Charmino Bade Shinoy stuff up, blow up. That thing went for days until then they announced the Mando Grogu, remember? To deflect from that. They came out of nowhere, absolutely out of nowhere. Oh, is it the same thing as Dave Filoni's Mandoverse movie? Oh, no, it's a whole new thing and they didn't announce it at Star Wars Celebration last year. Gee, that's surprising. Then you had the Bad Batch, which was a disaster. A disaster. It seems that, like, people give these shows like, oh, season 1, that was really good. Even though it, in my eyes, it wasn't. But these idiots just think it's really good. And then we get to season 2. Oh, it's still good. Maybe not as good as season 1, but it's still good. And then we get to season 3. It's like, this is shit. Like, when do we start to be honest with ourselves? When do we actually start to be honest with ourselves and actually go, okay, we've got now more Disney Star Wars than we do George Lucas Star Wars. What is honestly the percentage of how much of it you actually like? You know, it's really funny. Knights of Melvin recently did a video on pretty much breaking that down. Great video. And they actually like less of Disney Star Wars than they like. And we're supposed to just give this hope while they're preempting the damage control that they're going to need to do? But going after the fans? The majority of the fans that they're quote unquote talking about there, like the bigotry and the racism and the hate speech and everything, don't care about Star Wars anymore. You've called them bigots, you've called them racist, you've called them toxic and all of this sort of thing, and you've given them shitty content to the point where they don't even care. They don't even know that you're essentially calling them bigots again. That's how much they don't care. The only people that are left are the shippers, the pronoun people, this new weird fan base that they've culminated, and some of the normies. Because the normies are the ones that don't pay attention, but they also don't create income. All the hardcore fans are gone. They're gone. They don't care anymore. Let's see here. Papa Palpatine's Pizza Padawan becomes a member. I'm not too sure if I'm going to be able to see what level that was. It's a tracking fob. All right, so here's what we're going to do with the memberships, actually. I think I'm going to change the names of the tiers. So the first one is just going to be called Rhino's Rebels. The top tier is still going to be the Lore Masters. And I've got to think of a new name for the middle tier, the light speed skipping tier. But I'll think of something. But that's where I'm at so far with it. Oh, okay. For 2 months. Thank you for being a member. Donut Lord says live action Clone Wars movie. Bring fans back. No. And I've got a reason why I say that, right? Is because look at what Ahsoka did. You could almost say the Ahsoka, live action Ahsoka was a continuation of more so Rebels, obviously, but like Clone Wars stuff, like Clone Wars animation turned live action to some extent. Again, more Rebels. And that didn't bring people back. Even Ahsoka, the name of Ahsoka didn't bring people back. And if it did bring people back, this is the other crazy thing about it though too, is if it did actually bring people back and some people gave it a chance and watched it, they were in and out before you could say in and out. Because it was that bad. Anybody that's read the Thrawn trilogy, and I'm talking about the original Thrawn trilogy, the proper Heir to the Empire story trilogy. Anybody that's read that and seen how Thrawn is, and then looks at what they did with Thrawn in the Ahsoka series, I don't know how any fan out there that has read that can sit there and go, this is a good adaptation of the character. I just don't. Riff Magos for his 8-month member chat, thank you, says, I like 0% of Disney Star Wars. You and me both, buddy. Now, you know, I've admitted that in, I think it was season 2 of The Bad Batch, there was like 3 good episodes in there, you know, and I wouldn't even, like, I was about to say, you know, they're kind of like a diamond in the rough. I wouldn't even call them a diamond. It's like a small bit of gold in the rough. It's probably the best way. But like, that doesn't necessarily mean that any of it's good. You know, it's kind of similar to saying like the Spider-Man No Way Home movie. Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was really good. Now, they might have nostalgia baited me, but I actually think that they did nostalgia and they did the characters really well. I truly do. But everything else around it is still crap. Like, it's not fixing anything and it's not really doing much. Can't wait to rip apart this show. Speak of the devil, Melvin's in the chat. Yeah, me too. I'm like, it's funny. I'm actually excited for this. And I think I'm also excited because in our little corner of the internet, we've got a good group of people doing all different kinds of things when it comes to new Disney Star Wars coming out. You know, Melvin, he's got his anti-watch parties that he does, and then he does do his reviews of the episodes, which are really enjoyable to watch. You've got Grizzy out there who rips on all the shills. I must admit, Melvin does a lot of that on his streams as well. But, you know, Grizzy with his videos and the way that he does it's very unique and enjoyable to watch. You've got Tim out there who refuses to watch the stuff, but is a smart enough dude that he can, you know, read a synopsis if he even wants to or does that, but then just looks at what's happening around the fandom as well, you know, and brings that to the table. You've got OG Star Wars who does her compare and contrast, and I'm sure we're probably, while the Acolyte's going, she'll probably dabble into a little bit of that, you know, maybe give you a couple of comparisons in regards to Plagueis and Tenebris and why them not being there or what they do to Yoda or something like that. So, you know, what's happening right now within our little corner of the fandom, I think is really, really good. And, you know, people can hate on us, whatever. I don't care. You know, I just love it. You know, it actually like brightens my day when a person says, "Oh, you're ruining it for everybody else. Stop ruining it for me." You know, and you know how I feel about that. If I've got the ability to ruin it for you, that means that you can see my point and you actually understand that what I'm saying is, well, probably true if it's actually doing that. So anyway, Lesley Headland and Kathleen Kennedy, yes, through hate we love. Through hate we love. So yeah, both Lesley Headland, Kathleen Kennedy, and I have no doubt that Dave Filoni and everybody else at Lucasfilm is going to jump on this bandwagon and try and preemptively anticipate the criticism and hatred for the show, which is pathetic. Before we actually watch these, I'll go straight to this one. So the Acolyte budget is reportedly $180 million. $180 million. Season 1 has 8 episodes, and each are around 30 minutes long. You know, this is the thing, like people have mentioned, and I've talked about it, Stargate SG-1, right? 10 seasons, 25 episodes, 22 episodes a season, roughly, somewhere there. And 45 minutes an episode. Like, it's basically designed to be an hour long when it's being premiered on TV so that they can put the commercials in there. 45, 48 minutes, something like that per episode. How much did each episode cost? I don't know. It certainly wasn't like the budgets that we see today. But $180 million. And the only real reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is a Disney Plus show. How many more? 150 million, 180 million, 200 million, 120 million, whatever. How many of these shows, just for Disney Lucasfilm, have they produced, and how much revenue has that created? I don't think the Acolyte is bringing any real new subscribers to Disney Plus. And the word of mouth isn't going to... The one thing with Star Wars is you've destroyed its word of mouth. Because you've got the people out there that, went and saw the first 4 episodes, the premiere of The Acolyte, and they've come out and they're all parroting the same thing. It all looks the same, right? So nobody can trust those. You can blatantly see that based on the fact that they've all got the exact same talking points, right? But then once this actually releases and people start listening to, and I don't know who's going to watch this out there. I would expect actually a fair few of the ones that are tuned out of Star Wars to actually watch this just so that they can comment on it. One of those being Gary, Nerdrotic. He's tuned out of Star Wars. He has for a long time, but he'll jump back in here and there. I'm pretty sure he watched the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. People are going to watch this for all the wrong reasons. And then once those people talk about it, Mauler and the EFAP crew, right? The bigger channels. I would hope that there'd be people that, watch my reviews. A lot of you guys are in the chat right now. And, see it from my perspective. And yep, this is exactly what we thought. It's a dumpster fire. It's shit, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know Mauler loves Andor. I hate it when they're talking about, Disney Star Wars and how shit it is. And then they all say, oh, aside from Andor. It's like, oh, it gets to me. Grinds my gears. I'd love to have a chat with those guys and just, dude, I don't just hate this because it doesn't have lightsabers. That's not my hatred towards it. It goes deeper than that. It's the characters. It's what they've done. It's the lack of the characters that are there, that should be there. It's the nostalgia bait thrown on the screen. It's the little elements within the heist or within the prison break that I don't like, that don't make sense. The fact that there's even a prison there in the first place with sentient beings in there as opposed to just programming droids to build these things seems a little bit, it's going to cost a lot more. It's a bit expensive. But it's still, I can't deny the fact that it's probably a little bit better in regards to the character work. As much as I don't like some of the characters or majority of the characters that are in there, they at least tried, I guess. And I hate the guy that made Andor because he's not a Star Wars fan and he was talking about the droids and stuff like that. But I also feel a little bit like, we've talked about this when you're just getting fed shit constantly, when they give you something that's not necessarily shit, full on shit, and it's got a few frilly bits around the edges to dress it up a bit, it's going to get overhyped. But anyway, $180 million. They're not making that back. They're not getting that back. And I'm curious to hear what Sparrow has to say about this. Because wasn't the budget, didn't they only just get $50 million or something like that in the end? I can't remember. I'd have to watch the Sparrow files again, to be honest. A lot of information to take in. But they're not making that money back. There's no way. There's no chance. Sparrow said you look dumb and smell bad. Yeah. It's a shame. It's a shame I stink. All right. I have to stop sharing here for a second because I need to put my headphones in and share the audio. So, as I mentioned, we're still not finished on the Acolyte. Not yet. I haven't watched this either. Rhino smells like cat? No, I don't think so. I'm kind of proud that my house doesn't like stink like cat. At least I walk in the door and it's like, we got 2 cats living here and at least it fucking doesn't stink. Sparrow said Lucas is coming back to Star Wars and he's going to slap Kennedy in the face. Regan style. Yeah. I'd like to see that. All right. Oh, hang on a second. We got a couple of super chats to get to. We have RIP Star Wars for $5 says the Acolyte will make Disney lose so much money and it will be glorious. Yep. I mean, you know, I think we can all be honest with ourselves and say we wish that Star Wars was in a good place and we wish we were getting good Star Wars. The unfortunate thing is we're not, and that's why it makes it so glorious, because we've been talking about this for so long, and the more money that they piss up the wall when it comes to making Star Wars now, Disney Star Wars now, go for it. Just waste your money. Certainly not getting it back from Disney Plus. And I can't wait to see what their first movie release does since the disaster. Well, after all the disasters that we've had. Because I'm not going, I'll pirate it if I have to, right? I'll sail the high seas to just watch that movie when it comes out, but I'm not going to the theater to see it. I'm not spending that money. I'm not. I don't care if it's a shit copy. And then we had Dr. Coffin Nails for $5 as well. Says, thanks for showing the Satil Shan versus Darth Malgus fight last week. Yeah, that was. I love that shit. It's nice to see there's some good Star Wars content I haven't seen yet out there. You haven't seen that? Man, there's more. We've watched all of them over, you know, obviously this is Casual Rage 174. So we've watched them a few times here and there and a couple of the different ones. But yeah, like I'd say that Satil sort of storyline that you see, especially that fight with her master, and Malgus and his master. But then there's also the twins storyline and then the twin sister storyline. That's really cool too to watch. It's awesome. And again, that's real Star Wars. Like we view it and it's like, man, why can't Disney just sort of do this? Yeah, I know that basically means that what I'm saying is do lightsabers and do the flashy stuff. But no, like it's more than that. Even in those couple of clips that we saw, Satil's like, you know, she could teeter to the dark side with how much hatred and probably pain that she's got from the loss of her master at the hand of Malgus. And then she's fighting Malgus. Doesn't seem that she turns dark. It goes deeper than just these two characters that seem to have continuous lightsaber fights. But you've got to build that. The crazy thing is that within a 5-10 roughly minute clip, you know, we can, and not a lot of dialogue, we get that when we watch that. You don't have that magic anymore in Star Wars at all. Well, that's a great point too. Where's the outrage for Satil Shan? I thought Star Wars fans hated female characters. It doesn't exist. the narrative that they're pushing does not exist. Fucking ridiculous. The cast of The Acolyte reflects on the legacy of Star Wars. Oh, here we go. They're going to talk about how big a Star Wars fans they are and all of this kind of bullshit. And the thing is that if they were as big as Star Wars fans as a lot of the actual Star Wars fans that have walked away, then they'd actually see what's wrong with the scripts when they get them. I don't buy it anymore. Just because somebody, it's like a person who gets a job on Star Trek and they come out and say, yeah, I'm a big Star Trek fan. I have been my entire life. Probably never watched an episode in their lives. As an actor, look, you don't need to be a fan of the thing that you're acting in. And I'm not saying that they're not, but it just seems so convenient that every single person that they've ever employed at Disney Lucasfilm is a big fan of Star Wars. I don't buy it because it was never the case. Not every single person on planet Earth is a Star Wars fan. But you know who should? Look, I don't necessarily mean it to sound like you have to be, but you know who should be a Star Wars fan? The people writing the scripts, the people writing the stories, the people writing the characters. The people writing in this universe should know what Star Wars is, how the universe works, what the laws are, the rules, basically. They should know that hand-to-hand combat in Star Wars is fighting with a lightsaber, not actual physically kung fu hand-to-hand combat with slow-mo Zack Snyder fucking level Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon fucking bullshit. Big Star Wars fans, when those two were doing that scene with the kung fu and everything in it, not one of them thought to say, look, this isn't really Star Wars, is it? Like, maybe we should get our lightsabers out and actually have a fight with our lightsabers. You know, I can be the one that's full of anger and constantly on the offense, and he can be the one that's constantly on the defense because he doesn't necessarily want to kill me. He wants to help me. Show us that. You're not going to show that. Big Star Wars fans. Let's take a look. Let's see. They're all going to say, oh, I've been a Star Wars fan since before time. You know? You know that land before time? Where the dinosaurs were? I was a Star Wars fan back then. Huh.
Ready? Yeah. Star Wars has always been a big part of my life.
No, it hasn't. I don't buy it. Star Wars has always been a big part of my life. Now, look, I could be wrong, and maybe it has been a big part of her life. But I don't buy it anymore when I hear it from absolutely everyone. Like, when Natalie Portman was cast as Padme, was she a big Star Wars fan? Did she come out and say that? Maybe she did. I don't know. I can't remember that far back. Maybe she did come out and say, oh, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm so happy to be as a part of this universe. But maybe she didn't, and it didn't matter. She's an actor. Can she act the role or not?
I've always loved spending time in these universes and the concepts that Star Wars...
Hang on. We need to go back and hear that again.
Been a big part of my life. I've always loved spending time in these universes, and the concepts that Star Wars explores feel like some of the most vital ones.
See, to me, that seems like a script. It comes across as like scripted. To me, I've always loved spending time in these universes. Who talks like that? I am a massive Star Wars fan, and I don't think I've ever once said, oh, I just love living in this universe. When I watch it, I feel like I'm there. I'm actually living it. No! Nobody talks like that. It's not real. What these people are saying isn't real. Listen to it again and tell me, have you ever talked like this?
Always loved spending time in these universes, and the concepts that Star Wars explores feel like some of the most vital ones.
And the concepts that Star Wars explores feel like some of the most vital ones. Oh, like the concepts of putting your queer identity into the show, because we're now going to make it for the modern audience. It was always for the modern audience back then, but now we're going to make it for the modern audience now. She's real to you? It comes across as fake to me. I just don't see people talking like that.
Someone is killing Jedi. It doesn't make sense.
Hi. How are you?
Come and sit.
Come and sit. So I'm pretty honored to be a part of something that's impacted so many people.
See, okay, now let's take a look at Carrie Ann Moss there. She basically, let's just actually listen to it again for a second.
I'm pretty honored to be a part of something that's impacted so many people.
I'm pretty honored to be a part of something that's impacted so many people. That's a better way of putting it, though, isn't it? She's not sitting there going, oh, I've been a massive Star Wars fan. It's such an honor to be a part of this. No. It's an honor for her to be a part of this because of the impact that it's had on other people's lives. Now, again, the impact that this is going to have on people's lives only is going to impact the pronoun people, the shippers, the LGBTQs, all of that sort of thing. But it comes across as genuine to me. RIP Star Wars for $5 says, I think at Star Wars Celebration, one of them said Star Wars isn't about good or bad. Yeah, there is that too. But that's been a narrative that they've pushed well past that. And it's because they want to make all their characters these female characters, but you can't make their female characters bad, so they've got to be misunderstood bad. Breeze's Comics for 1 month member chat says, is that supposed to be like the black guy said Anakin or BLK? Sorry if I'm stuffing that up. Said Anakin blew up the Death Star. Which guy? I don't know who you're talking about. I'm sorry. Anyway, let's keep going.
And my kids are really excited about it.
And my husband is too.
That I can believe. Kids, well, the kids don't know any better. It's like when I was a kid, I didn't know half the shit that I knew about that I do know about Star Wars now. The black guy, yeah, I didn't have enough characters. Yeah, cool. Her husband, though, yeah, I could believe that. Her husband would be old enough to, probably be sort of similarly aged to me, probably a little bit older than me. I could believe it. But again, it's not like she's coming out and I'm the fan, I'm this, I'm that. I don't want to sit there and necessarily defend her either because I know that her character is going to be shit. And does that mean that I don't like Carrie-Anne Moss? Does that mean because she's got, like, you know, a vagina between her legs, I can't, you know, I better not like, you know, compliment her?
What was your favorite scene to film?
I loved the action sequence.
Of course you did. The hand-to-hand combat. The funny thing is like, there's this hand-to-hand combat scene, and then we've seen the other one with, I can't remember his name, Squid Game dude. Let's see if she references it, like taking her back to the Matrix days.
The fight that I have with Amandala.
Your power and your use of the Force in the fight is like, it's a whole other character. It adds so much to it. You are a strong, wise Jedi.
Oh, God. Here we go. You're a strong, wise Jedi, and the Force that you use. We talked about this last week. This whole, this actual stab, like right here. Fully extended arm. Like, what are you trying to do with that knife, honestly? And why are you using the Force to stop it? So lame and gay. So lame and gay. Gotta play it, don't I?
Put a ticket in, make her name it gay. Put a ticket in, make her name it gay.
I freaked out every time I got on a ship. You know?
Okay, why?
Because I was on a ship. Oh my God, I'm on a Star Wars
Yes,
ship,
I
and
see.
now I get to beep, bop, boop, bop, beep, boop, boop, press the button.
Yes.
Oh, see, because that's what Star Wars is. I'm on a Star Wars ship, and I get to beep beep bop beep boop. I gotta quit smoking. These guys drive me to smoke.
All the buttons,
Turn it-
all the screens.
All those all at once.
Yes.
Because that's what good pilots do.
I think the greatest part about Star Wars is that they have incredible characters, and you know, every generation just sees themselves in them.
Oh, everyone just sees themselves in them. No, apparently for years people haven't been able to see themselves in Luke Skywalker. He's been too white and too straight and too male for people to actually see themselves in Luke Skywalker. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
It's really nice to be a part of that. It was insane. It's Star Wars.
That's it. Words? Yoda was right to not let Asians in the Jedi Order. Funny. All right. Oh, here we go. Here we go. We're still not done. We're still not done. Oh, now, before I just saw this comment. I just read Darth Plagueis. That book is better than any of this. I agree. Big time better. But that reminded me. So after this stream, I was supposed to go over to Justin's channel, Star Wars Marvel Purist, and we were supposed to finish the last 10 chapters of the Plagueis book, Plagueis novel. Because of how early I was awake this morning and the like how late I was with this stream and everything, I'm going to skip it this week. He already knows. That's why I think he started streaming a bit earlier and stuff like that. I'm I'm going to speak to him and see if maybe we can organize it for next week. I think it'd be a good time to do it anyway, because by then we will have the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte. So we could probably do a little bit of a reflection back to early in the book and try and sort of give a little bit of a contrast between them. So I think it might be a good time anyway. But I'll speak to him. If you're not subscribed to Star Wars Marvel Purist, Justin's channel, the link is there. Soul Assassin's got it in the chat. Go over and give him a sub, and I'll catch you over there. You can catch the first 2 streams that we did, part 1 and part 2. It's basically chapters 0 to 10, and then essentially 11 to 20. And I see Soul Assassin dropping Darth Melvin's link as well. Go and give him a sub too if you're not subscribed. Okay. Oh, this is going to be painful. I can already foresee it. Dave Filoni. He is pretty lonely. Dave Filoni and Lesley Headland discuss Star Wars and The Acolyte. At least it's only 2.5 minutes long. I don't know if there is any more to this, if there's any missing at the front or at the back. This is just what I've got. It's funny. I would hope that this is the same day that photo was taken with Star Wars Explained and stuff, because they're wearing the same clothes and they'd stink if it was like another day. Anyway, here we go.
2 directors talk about Star Wars.
That sounds good.
That does sound good.
That actually
Let's
sounds
do it.
really good.
Tell me about The Acolyte.
I'm sorry, just you asking me that question is making me cry.
Is it? That's all right.
Yeah.
It is a big deal to...
Oh, fuck off. I already don't want to watch anymore. It's such a fucking lie. You just asking me that question is making me cry. Fuck off. Bullshit. I don't buy it.
A lot of people. It affects people in different ways, and this is your story, so...
What I was interested in examining were the Sith. The master-apprentice dynamic.
In a time frame when the Sith should be like, really stealthy undercover.
If the apprentice is craving the master's power, then at some point he must recruit his apprentice to overthrow the master.
Yeah.
And that is the Acolyte.
Right.
Who trained you? You don't wake up thinking you're evil or that you're the bad guy, as explored by George and Anakin.
Yeah, I don't think Anakin ever thinks he becomes evil.
I agree,
life,
and I think a lot of...
Oh, I think he does. Vader takes over. You got to almost think of Anakin and Vader as 2 completely separate personalities, and Vader is the one suppressing Anakin as much as possible. I don't buy that, George. You're playing the game here, buddy. And I don't buy that you don't know that. I do think that you do know that. But you've got to make sure that you don't make Lesley Headland look bad here. So you'll agree.
Thinks he becomes evil.
I agree,
life,
and I think
you know.
a lot of the characters in The Acolyte have to convince themselves that they are...
Doing the right thing.
They're doing the right thing.
This is the Clone Wars.
Yeah, no kidding.
Ahsoka was such an interesting character to me.
When we started, we had
Oh, here we go. We talk about specifically Ahsoka. Not Luke was an interesting character. Not, necessarily even Anakin being an interesting character. They did reference Anakin, but it's Ahsoka. Ahsoka was an interesting character to me. That would have given Dave Filoni the biggest hard-on you've ever seen. As soon as she mentioned it, he was like, swing.
it very much a shell shock moment for her that she was out of her depth. And I'll never forget it. George watching it and saying, you guys are taking this a bit too seriously. He went on to explain that, like...
I don't know. No, I don't think you're taking it seriously enough. It's just wishy-washy.
Even at a young age, she's not out of her depth for any of this.
I had a similar experience with the character Jackie. There was a note from somebody that was, wouldn't she be scared on her first mission? And I remember you telling me about that story.
Jedi training has to be valuable. It prepares them for the galaxy.
Do or do not.
Do or do not, there's no try. That's like, if you're trying, you're not actually doing it.
Yeah, but Dave, you allowed that line to get like completely fucked up in the Book of Boba Fett with Luke Skywalker. Don't try, do. You changed it.
I had to do that with Acolyte for sure. My agreement with myself was whenever it overwhelms you that you're doing your dream, you just have to do it.
Oh, could you imagine being on set with her? Could you imagine being on set with her? It would drive me insane. Insane. I'd have my fake lightsaber and I'd be constantly trying just to see. It's like when you're sitting on the couch and the remote's too far away and you try and use the force to grab it because you're so comfortable you don't want to move, that you hope that the force becomes real. I'd be standing there hoping that my lightsaber became real, you know, and I'd just keep prodding and poking her. Just come on, please. Just this once.
Honestly, the times that I felt the most worried was not the special effects, the fighting choreography. It was the emotional stuff.
These things that George understood about filmmaking.
Yeah. Everyone's tried that more than once. I know, man. The thing that I love about automatic doors is that I'll always wave my hand. Always. Even if it's just low key, I'll do it. Just, I don't know. Just became a thing. But yeah, the remote control or the phone. The phone, it's like it's just sitting on the coffee table. It's right there. It's right there. And you're just like, oh, fuck. And you got to grab it.
Understood about iconography are things we still try to tap into.
No, it's not.
It's the Western. It's the samurai film. It has to feel elevated, but it also has to feel like Star Wars. Basically, what George created, it's the North Star.
Oh my God, calling this the North Star of what George created. Woo-hoo!
What are you?
What are you? Well, that was underwhelming. I don't buy it. I don't buy that any of them are really Star Wars fans. I just don't buy it. What a load of crap. Oh, stomach getting hungry. Yeah, samurai films. What was the other thing she referenced? Oh, the Western. The Western and samurai films. I think they've taken statements like, you know, the Seventh Samurai and those sorts of things where George maybe grabbed a little bit of inspiration from. I think they've taken those things like to a whole nother level and it's too serious. This is the other thing too, is like it's almost the same thing with the nostalgia or the jangling keys that they put on the screen. It's the same sort of thing. They think that that's enough. They think that that's enough. And it's not enough and it's been proven that it's not enough because when Star Wars first came out, George Lucas has even talked about this. All the space movies, spaceship movies and stuff like that. And that people just thought as long as we put spaceships on the screen, that's all it is. No, that's not all it is. And that's what they're basically now making Star Wars. It's self-referential and it just it references itself. And you either enjoy that and seal clap your way through that or you don't. Or you don't. All right, let's just quickly touch on this, and then how am I going to play this out? We could do the nominees for Seal of the Week and then watch some of the George Lucas interviews in between, or we just watch the George Lucas ones and then we do Seal of the Week. Anyway, let's just get through this one really quickly. So the Mandalorian and Grogu movie may shut down the possibility of a proper season 4 of The Mandalorian. Ever happening on Disney Plus. I don't care. First of all, I don't care. But this is where, like, I get to a point where I'm like, I'll believe whatever's going to happen when I see it. And the reason why I say that is because Jon Favreau said before we got season 3 of The Mandalorian, Jon Favreau said that he's done the script for, 3 and 4. It's ready to go. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, chap, but didn't they start shooting season 4? Didn't they start shooting season 4? If they didn't, I know that at least, Jon Favreau mentioned that the scripts were done. And where is Jon Favreau, by the way? You got to remember, like, during the height of The Mandalorian and other shows coming out and their connections to The Mandalorian, like Boba Fett and stuff like that, Jon Favreau was very prevalent. He was very in the forefront. He was talking to press. He was doing junkets, whatever the case may be. He was doing a lot of it. And now you just don't see him anymore. Now, could that mean that he's gone? Yeah, I guess it could mean that he's gone. I'm sure that if he was actually gone and not a part of Disney Star Wars anymore, not a part of Disney Lucasfilm anymore, there would have been some sort of confirmation and we would have heard it. I know that there were the rumors going around out there, but it is interesting how we just don't see him anymore. Did something go down? And I'm not talking Civil War wise. I'm just saying, like, did something actually go down? Did he get to a point where he's like, man, Mandalorian season 3 got received horribly. Maybe I'm doing this as a detriment to my career. And it is. I like Jon Favreau. I like him as an actor. I think he plays his roles really well. One of my favorite roles that he plays is, now I can't remember his name, but in The Replacements, obviously a really younger Jon Favreau, but funny as movie. Love it. I've loved a lot of the stuff that he's done as a director. But it's now gotten to a point where, mate, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you're certainly not making good Star Wars. And maybe that is partially Dave Filoni's fault. I mean, you've got to give him some sort of fault. He was directly involved with these projects. And more so even now with his promotion to Chief Creative Officer. He's hiding in his basement, Rhino. But anyway, like, whether or not we get a Mando Season 4, is Mando Season 4 going to make any money on Disney Plus, first of all? No. How much is it going to cost? Let's say a minimum of $150 million. What's a Mandalorian Grogu movie going to do? Going to cost? Who knows? Like, fucking anywhere from 150 to 300 million. Who's running that shit show? Like, the other thing too is They would say, oh, we're coming out with a Mandalorian Grogu movie directed by Jon Favreau. We don't even have a director for this movie. Do we have a script? I mean, we got told by Daisy Ridley that the script for her movie is just around the corner months ago. And then just, last week, I think it was, we talked about it. She still hasn't seen a script, and it's just around the corner. Hey, Rono, Headland admitted again that the Sith are in the Acolyte. We should all get an apology from being called toxic and prejudging it for breaking law. Well, yeah. I mean, look, it's tough. It really is tough. But there is a way that they could have the Sith were revealed, and then covered up. But man, it's tough. It's tough with only 100 years from when we get a lot of those statements in the Phantom Menace. It can be done, but you need to be smart with how you do it. And I don't think Lesley Headland's smart. I don't think Dave Filoni's smart. I don't think anyone working on any of these Star Wars movies or shows are smart when it comes to actually, like, the Star Wars smarts, you could say. None of them have got it. Anyway, that's The Mandalorian and Grogu. That's The Mandalorian and Grogu movie. All right, let me just take a look here because I've got too many seals. I don't like that, but we'll use it anyway. Oh, yeah, that one's a good one. It's so funny. I saved a couple from last week, and I've got that many more now that I'm probably not going to use any of the ones from last week. Yeah, okay, we'll use that one. Okay, I'm not going to bash on that one, actually. Sorry, guys. I'm going to get rid of that one. And we're going to use that one. All right. All right. You know what? I'm going to run to the bathroom, get a drink top up, and then we'll get stuck into this. What can I play you guys, though? All right, we'll just play this one again. All right, I'll be right back, guys.
I said Lyndon would go to the tree and do some ASMR for you, Lethal. In your honor.
I'm so sorry. He'd be hugging that tree. And then he'd be punching it and slapping it, going, "You took my friend." Kicking it. How dare you?
That would be you, Rhino.
Nah. Boy. I'd be there going, "Why? Fuck you, Disney! Why?" I do love that clip. Do love that clip. All right. Let's move these forward. Just shuffling some tabs around here. All righty. Oh, I've got something in my eye now. What a dog. Oh, man, my stomach's growling bad. Here we go.
I'm all the Jedi.
All right, members, it's time to get your seal clapping emojis in the chat. Time to get those emojis in the chat because we're going to get a new seal of the week this week. Starting with this one, nominee number 1. Here we go. Me at 20. I hate these movies. They're terrible and not real Star Wars. There's only 6 episodes. Me at 24. You know what? They're not my favorite, but I accept them. They're not so bad. They're not so bad. I'm an adult. What? I love Star Wars. We're losing people. We're losing people to the other side. No. That's so funny. I'm an adult. Oh, so good. All right, that's nominee number 1. Nominee number 2. The Book of Boba Fett should have focused on more on Boba's time with the Tuskens as he learns to live and fight alongside his new tribe and starts to rethink both his past and future. Agree? No, I disagree. Some of the worst stuff in the Book of Boba Fett was the stuff with the Tuskens. And again, talk about law breaking, canon breaking when it comes to Tusken Raiders. Completely disagree. That's nominee number 2. Nominee number 3. Hang on, I got to check for pronouns, don't I? Oh, we don't have any pronouns there. All right, people need to chill on here. I personally liked Ahsoka more than Andor. Does that mean Andor is bad? No. Does that mean my opinion is better than yours? No. Subjective opinions aren't right or wrong. The only ones that are wrong are the ones that take their opinions as fact. Okay, let's just talk about this one really quickly. I don't think my opinions are fact other than if my opinion references some sort of law or canon that has been established and we've actually got the answers there provided for us by the people that created it. Then my opinion no longer starts becoming a subjective opinion. That the opinion actually then becomes fact. Now, I'm not saying that when I give my opinion is better than anybody else's. But if I'm specifically talking about one certain element, you know, We've talked about tracking fobs. We've talked about light speed, travel time, light speed skipping, that sort of thing, teleportation, and those sorts of things. My opinion is no longer a subjective opinion. It's based on fact. So my opinion is now factual. Anyway, that's nominee number 3. And then nominee number 4, I talked about this in my last video with the Acolyte reviews for the people that went and saw it, the SEALs that went out and got an invite to actually see the first couple of episodes. So let's just go through this one really quickly. The Acolyte gives me the vibes of Andor, but with lightsabers. Fantastic fight choreo. And I wanted to say this in my video. Who talks like that? Fantastic fight choreography, I'd say, personally, and I'd write it that way. But fantastic fight choreo and weird creatures. I love when Star Wars is weird. Perfectly encapsulates the feeling of the original trilogy. The original trilogy gave me as a kid, while also feeling fresh, new, and inviting. There are your 4 nominees for Seal of the Week. Let's get the poll in the chat. And you guys can get your votes in. One, 2, 3, and 4. So just going through them again. Number 1, we're losing them. No! Number 2, Book of Boba Fett should have focused more on the Tuskens. Number 3 is that apparently, this person's opinion is that Ahsoka is better than Andor, but Andor isn't bad either. And then we've got the ones that actually are literal shills and watched got an invite to watch the first couple of episodes and then give their shilly reactions like this. So there are your 4 nominees. Get your votes in. Get your votes in. Excuse me. All right. I'm just going to bring this up and I'm going to show you what we're going to go through here really quickly. So OG Star Wars put this tweet out there. I haven't seen this yet. Just says Happy Star Wars Day. Obviously, that's in a different language. I haven't translated it. Don't really care. We're going to watch this clip. It's just under 4 minutes long. Then we've got the 10-minute interview. I thought we could watch all of this. And then there's this one, which is an hour and a half long. And I hate the way,
we ended up in Oglala, Nebraska.
Not that you can't hear him. I just hate that it's not presented as an actual recorded thing. The people, the organizers, should have done an actual recording of this. But obviously, he doesn't. I know there's stuff in here that we should probably touch on, but there's a couple of segments in here where he talks about Star Wars, but then there's a whole heap of sections where it's got nothing to do with Star Wars. So, look, we might not do this one this week. What I might do is maybe through the week, I'll go through and watch this myself and then maybe pull out some timestamps from it. Maybe. Next week's going to be pretty crazy because we're going to have the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte to break down. And then I don't want next week to go too long as well so that I can actually finish this Plagueis book breakdown with Justin, Star Wars Marvel purist. Anyway, so we're at least going to go through these 2 clips here, I reckon. I reckon that's what we're going to do. All right, so I think this is him actually getting his award, yeah.
To, dear George, to reward you with this Palme d'Or d'honneur, pour vous remettre cette Palme d'Or d'honneur, we had to invite someone as huge as you. Il fallait inviter quelqu'un à votre démesure.
Is it French, is it? They're talking English and then translating it into French. Am I correct in saying that?
Je trouve que cette personne est aussi votre ami et notre parrain à tous. This person happens to be a lifetime friend and our dearest godfather. Please welcome Francis Ford Coppola.
I thought it was going to be Spielberg for a second. God, look how old he is now. I mean, people get old, right? But fuck. Francis Ford Coppola. Look at him. It's actually almost sad seeing like Francis there and George Lucas, and even George Lucas looking a little more brittle than we've seen him before. That's nice. That's actually really nice.
How exceptional it is to be here to celebrate the imagination, the persistence, and success of your own kid brother. Well, the first one I ever had. I met George Lucas when he was a student at the University of Southern California, which was the competing film school of mine, UCLA. And he was there to watch me direct my first studio film with a crew much older than me and all wearing suits and ties. When I asked this informally dressed young 19-year-old in a sweater what he was watching, he said, nothing much. So pleased to have someone of my own generation. I suggest.
These are people that actually had creativity. You know, they actually had an imagination. They actually had a story to tell. You know, it's sad to see the state of our entertainment these days, isn't it? Really.
He continued to come every day.
When you see legends like this that have actually created good cinema, good movies, good entertainment, made you laugh, made you cry, made you happy, made you sad, you know, gave you a full range of emotions through their art. And now look at what we're left with. The runts, the bottom of the barrel, the sludge. It's all there is now. It's such a sad state of affairs, really.
Only on one condition, that he come up with a brilliant suggestion every day, which he consistently did. And with that began an association that has lasted a lifetime. As I continued to watch him with his brilliant ideas throughout his entire career, including the first music track of the hit songs of his era, totally on the score, the first film to have a brief explanation of what happened to each character at the end, and the first film with the titles in the middle. And he went on and on, making film history, story history, business history, and now history in France, the country where cinema was born with the Brothers Lumiere and is celebrated with more passion than anywhere else in the world. I also remember, George, when he returned so sad and rejected, having gone to the owners of Flash Gordon, the protagonist of a space comic book in 1934, and he said they told him he wasn't important enough to trust with their famous character, the star of serial movies that he loved so much as a kid. And he looked at me and he said, well, I'll make my own movie. I'll call it Star Battles or Star Wars or something. And so he did. And in the process, risked everything he did to make it. Congratulations, George. Not only am I and your many friends proud of you, but also the world is here proud to honor you.
Isn't it great hearing Francis Ford Coppola say those words, especially, you know, just directly towards the Star Wars stuff and his risks and the creation and everything that he came up with. And then George Lucas later on gets interviewed about, you know, the how white, straight, male-ish, how patriarchal basically his movies were. What a contrast in attitude towards this stuff, right? Class act. Completely agree. Completely agree. And that's it. It'd be nice to hear what George actually says in his acceptance speech. But we've got interviews for that one. That was nice. That was nice. All right, here we go. Here we go.
Hi, this is George Lucas, and you're watching Brutes.
I'm Gus. I'm so pleased to meet you. I was wondering, in your opinion, as a writer, producer, director, movie lover, what makes a great movie for you? What does it take?
That's an interesting
Movies
question.
are images that move. I'm fascinated and always been fascinated, especially in the beginning, on the movement of the image. And then I tied up with Francis Coppola, and he's a writer, director of actors. And I was an editor and cameraman that films things. So we had two different specialties. And
there you go. Like the two different specialties, you just don't see that anymore. It's kind of like, and I've heard Gary say it, they're casting the crew as opposed to actually getting the right people in, maybe deferring to somebody that's a bit more professional in this element of actual filmmaking. You know, I know George didn't do that so much when it came to the prequels. He probably should have deferred a little bit more to some people that could do the job better, write it better, direct it better, all of those sorts of things, right? But at the end of the day, it was an artistic thing that they were doing. And they could defer to the person that they knew could do that job better.
we became friends. I became an assistant. We started a company together. So the idea of making movies, which I really discovered when I went to film school, which I didn't even know there was a film school, but I ended up thinking I was going to do a photography school. But I ended up, and once I got there, I love this. But it really is, but I was sort of an anti-story person. But once I got into film school, and then after with Francis's influence, because he was a actress, director, and a writer, he helped me learn how to write. And as a result, I started making more Hollywood-y kind of movies.
Why do you think the Star Wars saga has marked the audience and crossed generations until today?
It's timeless.
It's about, it was designed as a film for 12-year-olds to say, you're going through puberty, you're very confused, you don't know what's going on, who am I, what am I doing here, what should I do, where should I go, what's my life going to be? And so I said I wanted to...
And the crazy thing about that is it did that for so many people. And not just young 12-year-old boys either. I know that he almost corrected himself and said boys, but he just said 12-year-olds. There are girls out there too that have loved Star Wars and actually love legitimate, real Star Wars. They love the same elements of it as all the dudes do. They love the connections. They love the tie-ins. They love the lore. They love the canon. They love the continuity of these things. They love it when they do see an Easter egg that actually legitimately probably should be there. But now, Star Wars might be still being made for 12-year-olds. The problem is it's not going to make a cultural impact. It's not going to make an impact to them at all. Especially when they get older and they start to realize, hey, this story really doesn't make any sense. It's not just the lightsabers on the screen. That's why I give kids a pass. I'm not saying that kids are stupid, right? Because that's what Hollywood thinks. That's what they think when they make these shows and they make them stupid and people come out and they justify it by saying it's for kids. Right? Yeah, you can have it for kids where the kids literally just sit there and they say, oh, I love the lightsabers, blah, 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 blah. And that's all it is that they do like about it. But then when they eventually get older and they start seeing the the story threads and the characters and things like that properly, it'll be like that. This is actually shit. You know, and I have no doubt that there's a lot of normie parents out there too that are like, you know, oh, I like Star Wars. You know, I'll show my kids Star Wars, and this is great. This is awesome. We're sitting together. We're enjoying a Star Wars movie together as a family or whatever.
I wanted to make a movie for them, and I wanted to make it entertaining. And when I was that age, I liked to watch Flash Gordon and Republic serials and that sort of thing. And so I said, well, I'll base it on that, and then I'll plug all this other stuff into it. And that's really what I think. You know, when I did it, everybody said, oh, spaceships, let's just put spaceships in a movie. And I said, that's not what it is at all.
Yeah.
And
at all.
It's you know, it's much more than just an action adventure film.
Was there a moment when you realized it had become a milestone in pop culture, that everything was changed?
Well, that was when when I finished it. The other two films were not well liked by the studios. They didn't want to even release American Graffiti, and the board of directors of Fox was having.
No, I haven't seen that Soul Assassin. I was just reading your comment there. No, do you want to DM that to me on Twitter if you can? I don't know if you got a Twitter, don't you? Share it with me somewhere. Instagram. Put the link in the chat.
Problems. They didn't like it. They said, "Oh, this is not going to save us."
Star Wars. Hi, Steph. We're just watching George Lucas's interview, doing Seal of the Week, and we're going to wrap the stream up soon. Wow, that sounds interesting. Let's just go back because I kind of half missed that because I was paying attention to the chat. Go back a little bit here.
We're not well liked by the studios.
Oh, hang on, let's go back a little bit more.
Pop culture, that everything, when you realized it had become a milestone in pop culture, that everything was changed.
Well, that was when when I finished it. The other two films were not well liked by the studios. They didn't want to even release American Graffiti, and the board of directors of Fox was having some financial problems. They didn't like it. They said, "Oh, this is not going to save us," and
the audience did.
Yeah, well, they the same thing with American Graffiti. They loved it, but finally, we convinced the studio that they should release it because they were going to release it as a television show, and I said, "No, you know, this actually people like this movie," and Star Wars was really designed that way, but the board of directors didn't like it. So, but I had, you know, Alan Ladd Jr. and some of the top executives there were very much on my side, so that helped me a lot. And but when it came out, you know, the people around the block, it was all crazy. And I said to Laddie, Alan Ladd Jr., who was the president of the studio, I said, "Look, all science fiction films do great in the first week. That's just the way it is. And I said, let's not worry about it. Lines around the block in the first week, because they just like science fiction."
Are you sure George Lucas is coming back? Yeah, I did clickbait the title a little bit. George Lucas is coming back. Yeah, George ain't coming back.
Fiction films, and then I went off to Hawaii to be on the beach, and Steve Spielberg and I sat around and made sandcastles and things, and then I began to read. And some of my friends from the United States called and said, "Turn on Walter Cronkite tonight. Turn on the news." I turned it on, and they did a whole thing about what a phenomenon it was, and that's when I finally realized.
You remember?
It was a big phenomenon.
I remember I saw the first trilogy on videotapes and the prequel, the second trilogy, in a movie theater, actually the same movie theater in Paris, and it was something. And I'm wondering, if they had existed, do you think you would have released them on a streaming platform, George?
No.
I don't know. Streaming is very powerful and it's great. it's really upped the movie business because the theatrical movie business was, we could see the problems, and it was not good. And so everybody was looking to streaming to save it, but nobody knew it would. And that's when Netflix took off. But at that point, I just said, look, I don't know what this is going to be. There's going to be a giant transition in the business. I don't know that much about it. And I sold the company and I retired, basically.
Before we get into that next question, yeah, look, I don't think that even if streaming was around back then, George would have released them through the box office. Like, he would have released them in theaters. I don't think that George was ever making like stuff that would release on Disney Plus. Now, whether or not, if there was streaming services back then, he would have made specifically stuff for, let's say, Lucasfilm Plus or whatever, you know, Lucasfilm streaming service. Maybe. But I doubt it. I don't think George Lucas is that kind of guy. And especially, like, you can't really judge that because it was a different time back then. Cinema and movies, where it was a completely different thing. And Steph, My Nerdy Home, drops 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Steph. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate you. Let's see. Is it going to... Oh, there. It just popped up there. Who we got? Oh, hang on. So we go Soul Assassin, Jace, Verity. Sorry, I'm fucking the name up. I know. Ninja Reaper and Miss J. Thank you very much, Steph. Love you long time. Thanks. All right. Let's continue. Next question.
In terms of special effects, animation, sound, you changed the history of cinema. How do you feel about AI, the use of artificial intelligence in this industry today?
Well, we've been using it for 25 years.
Sure.
And it's not AI, but we use all the digital technology because we helped pioneer. We pioneered a lot of that, especially at ILM, because for a while they were the only place that was doing digital. But the thing of it is that it's inevitable. I mean, it's like saying, I don't believe these cars are going to work. Let's just stick with the horses. Let's just stick with the horses. And you say, yeah, you can say that, but that isn't the way the world works.
Yeah, what will cinema become in 10 years?
Same thing as it is now. There's one thing that's really what happens now. It happens.
Same thing as it is now. Yeah, maybe, because right now cinema is not that great. But if Hollywood keeps doing what they're doing, cinema is just going to get worse. It really is. It's already getting bad. People aren't going. It's too expensive to go for a lot of people now. But also, too, with the streaming platforms that a lot of people have got and everything, a lot of people are waiting. It's got to be something real hyped and really, it's sort of like, I reckon that Deadpool 3 is going to do good. I don't doubt it. It's going to be interesting as an R-rated movie to see what that movie actually ends up doing too. But I don't think if we keep going on the same trajectory that we're going on right now, I don't think in 10 years' time, cinema is going to be the same as it is now. No. If anything, it's going to be worse than it is now.
Happens in streaming probably more than features, but features are the same thing. Nobody knows what to do. The stories they're telling are just old movies. Let's do a sequel. Let's do another version of this movie.
We've talked about this.
There's no, and it's not just in
creativity.
Movies, but in almost everything. There's no original thinking.
Oh, he was going to say it.
It's like,
he was going to say there's no creativity. He was about to say it.
But in almost everything, there's no original thinking.
Yeah, no original thinking.
It's like people just, I saw something, let's do something like that.
Yep.
And it's also the way the movies are sold. If you go in and say, I've got something that you've never seen before, that and you don't understand.
You need to take a risk.
It's very hard to get a deal. I mean, you can do it, but it's like this big studios. I mean, they don't want that. They want something that is like something they've seen, because they don't have an imagination to come up with to see something that isn't there. I mean, I got Star Wars done mainly because at the same time I was writing the script, I hired an artist to draw pictures of what I was doing, because I knew I couldn't describe what it was. It was impossible. But when you see the pictures, you say, oh, I get it. And that was really what made the movie, what sold it.
It's interesting because with Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, Brian De Palma, you were part of what we call the new Hollywood. Interestingly, Martin Scorsese said he didn't think of Marvel movies as cinema. Do you agree with him?
Look, cinema is the art of the moving image. So if the image moves, then it's cinema, and I think.
Yes, I'm that guy from Melbourne's stream. Yes, I am. That was good. Hello and welcome.
Marty's kind of changed his mind a little bit, but we're on the Film Foundation together. He started the Film Foundation, but it's directors that got together and say, we're going to try to save a lot of these movies because they're falling apart in warehouses somewhere. So we're going to try to make them, save them so they don't disappear, because of the silent movies, like 80% of them have disappeared. You don't exist anymore. And I said, we got to stop it. So we did. But on that committee, it's like Marty and Christopher Nolan and a lot of directors who wasn't happy that I was helping to pioneer digital cinema. And I was trying to sell digital cinema, and they said, no, that's not movies. But finally, I don't know about Christopher Nolan, but I know that Marty and a lot of the other directors have come around, and now it's almost all digital. And I said, it makes so much more sense. You can do so much more with it. We've been doing it in ILM for 20 years. And everybody said, well, the blacks aren't the same. You can't do. We were intercutting digital visual effects into analog movies. You couldn't tell there was any difference to them.
Well, thank you so much, George. Will you make another movie, a very last one?
No, I'm retired. The last one I did,
I love that.
As a producer, was a thing called Strange Magic, which is an animated film.
There you go. He's not coming back. Let's just put a pin in any future rumor with this statement that he's giving right here. George ain't coming back. He's not saving shit. Nothing. Nothing. He's done. He's retired. No more. Sparrow, shut the fuck up.
And so I was doing movies that I wanted to do rather than, I was financing them myself. I had my own studio and I was doing all that stuff. So anyway, now I'm building a museum in Los Angeles. It's keeping me very busy.
May the force be with you.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. I like the way that ended. And I missed a super chat from RIP Star Wars for $2. Says, I wouldn't be surprised if Theory loves this show. Well, neither would I, to be honest with you. He is the ultimate fence rider. We all know it. We've seen it. All right. Like I said, next week I might go through that other 1 hour long video interview and see if there's some timestamps that I can pull out of it. And maybe we can have a look at that next week. But again, next week we do have the breakdown of the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte. And then hopefully after that, and it shouldn't be a problem, but again, I'm just at this point in time going to say hopefully after that, I'm going to be over on Justin's channel to finish talking about the Plagueis novel. It's been a lot of fun breaking that down. I do like talking about the EU when I get the opportunities to. So, yeah, get ready for that. Check that out. This weekend, you can catch us over on the Full Aussie channel. We've got the standard Full Aussie show this weekend, Saturday morning for you guys in the States, Saturday evening, or midnight Saturday for us over here in Australia. Any mods, if you can drop the link to the Full Aussie in the chat, that'd be greatly appreciated. Please go over and give us a sub over there. If you don't know, we talk about a whole heap of bullshit. We watch videos, just have a bit of fun, laugh. We only do one pop culture stream, and that's basically once a month over there as well. Then you can catch me on Flashcast. This weekend's show should be interesting, to say the least. But yeah, you can catch us over on Flashcast this weekend. And then, get ready for the reviews and get ready for the breakdowns. And I'm hoping to get Anna, that Star Wars girl, on to do some of these breakdowns. I keep talking to her about whether or not she's watching it. And I think she's a bit like this on it, up and down on it. But yeah, there we go. Thank you, Soul Assassin, for putting those links in the chat. Let's finish the seal of the week. How are we going on the poll? Let me bring up the seals first of all. I want to see your seal emojis in the chat, members. See those emojis. All right, let me click over here. All right, we got 29. Hey, it's a good turnout for the poll this week. That's fantastic. It's a bit of a spread, but we definitely have a clear winner. All right, let me end the poll. Seal clapping emojis. Look at them all. Love it. All right, the poll has ended. And in last place with 13% of the vote, oh, what am I doing? 13% of the vote was number 3. Oh, the Ahsoka being like the Acolyte. In third place, or second last place, with 17% of the vote was number 2. Boba Fett should have focused more on the Tuskens. In second place, with 24% of the vote, was number 1. We're losing them to the wrong side. And the winner of this week's Seal of the Week is Carly King, with 44% of the vote, saying, "The Acolyte gives me the vibes of Andor, but with more lightsabers. Fantastic fight choreo and weird creatures. I love when Star Wars is weird. Perfectly encapsulates the feeling of the original trilogy gave me as a kid, while also feeling fresh, new, and inviting. Congratulations, Carly King. You are this week's Seal of the Week. Congrats."
I'm all the Jedi.
Beautiful. That's good. 2 hours. I think we're done. That was fun. Well, don't you find it funny when you accidentally rhyme? That's another good stream. Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome. Thanks for all being here. To all the lurkers in the chat, I appreciate you. To all the people come back and rewatch the stream, I appreciate all of you. Please do smash the like button, hit the subscribe. If you're not subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, all of that good stuff. You can also follow me over on Twitter. I do have a merch store with the narratives fucked, or you want to fight, go check those out as well. Anything else? I don't think so. Thanks to the members and the super chatters. You guys are awesome. We got Miss J with the seal clapping emojis. Yes, Soul Assassins, got it going. Go raid Jack Show. Give him a Rhino raid. Let him know that you've come over from Raging Rhino with the Rhino raid. Appreciate that. Smash that button and go over. I think Anna's hosting this week. They did have Alex Stein on, and I don't know whether or not they're talking about Nick or not. It's just a sad situation. Other than that, we're all done. Thanks, guys, again. We will see you next week for the start of the Sizzle Reel breakdowns. It should be a lot of fun. All right, guys. Have a good one. Take care.
They came bounding over.
Fuck off! Disney! You fucking cunt! You'd better put a chick in it. And make it fucking gay as fuck.
Going somewhere?
Lame!
Put her on a path of her own choosing, so that no matter which direction she takes, we'll always be one step ahead of her.
What?
That is so lame!
A few minutes? Are you kidding? At the rate they're gaining?
No, what is it? You have to shoot this. Traveling through hyperspace is like dusting crops, kid. Without precise calculations, we fly too close to a store. Or bounce into a supermarket and then...
Yeah.
Be a hell of a mess.
What's that?
Watch. You're losing the deflector shields. Go strap yourselves in. Be careful on the way out.
Yeah, sure. I'm taking it very cautiously.
You... Go away!
Bounce too near a supermarket?